Okay, welcome to Into the Channel podcast, primarily about women's football. I'm your host, Dino Decespedes, and as always, I am joined by my co-host, Mr. Grant Engle. What is up, man?
I'm feeling fantastic, buddy. Now we're 2 days into the UEFA Women's Champions League.
Let's go.
I feel better. I feel even better than I did after day one.
So, I mean, some might say we're a third of the way through. I mean, that's no joke. We're making some real progress here. So very excited. Matchday 2, good matchups. I feel like we learned some stuff, but also some stuff got muddled a little bit. I'm excited to kind of talk about these 9 matchups. Where do you want to get started?
Let's get started with PSG 1, Real Madrid 2. And I'm just going to move right to that because when you said we're a third of the way through, it was very obvious on my face that I was like, wait, how does that work? You confused me with math right off the top. It doesn't matter. Let's just easy math. Real Madrid had 2. That's double what PSG had 1. An important victory for Las Blancas away.
Big victory for Las Blancas. I mean, I think I was pretty encouraged by this one because both teams obviously come into it, you know, from different angles, right? PSG obviously the terrible showing, but let me rephrase that. The terrible result, okay-ish showing, but you never want to walk away, you know, with that kind of scoreline. I thought PSG kind of impressed early in this one. I thought their press was good. I thought their intensity was good. You could see their athleticism. You could see the directness, and kind of had, you know, Madrid on their heels a little bit. I think things turned right, maybe like in the 20s, 23, 24. Linda Caicedo had a great run that kind of depressurized the whole situation because like PSG had been pressing, some shots coming across, and like, you know, like it really made Madrid, I think, really uncomfortable. But that one run, and Caicedo had to do a lot of work. She went a little bit beast mode, kind of go through some bodies, make some moves, get creative. But she's like, no, we can move on this team. We just kind of have to do, you know, like we have to play how we know how to play. You know, be a little bit more, you know, kind of like not practical, but a little bit more deliberate in our movement and our decisions. It will be all right. And that's kind of how the rest of it kind of, you know, like unfurled from there.
It's a skill that she obviously has, and I feel like the best wingers, the top tier wingers in world football have that ability to, I'm going to get down the wing and I'm going to depressurize things, kind of as you put it. So yeah, she's amazing at that. We've seen her do it in multiple different tournaments, in multiple different shirts, whether it's for Colombia or Real Madrid at this point. I'm with you. I really liked PSG's first 30 minutes. There were some things I put in my game notes where I was like, oh, okay. Perhaps I overreacted a little bit to that first match result that they had when I was asking the question, are we going to find out in this match if Real Madrid is on a totally different tier than PSG? And, you know, sometimes I just got to be reminded every time we get back into this tournament that it's like, okay, get a couple results in before I start really wondering these or asking these questions. I will say, and obviously it's a little easier to say because Madrid won the match. I do think Madrid is better than PSG, but if I were tiering teams in the tournament, they're probably roughly on the same tier. Am I crazy for saying that?
I would say so. I would still think these teams are in different tiers. I mean, you look at that run. I mean, I put Real Madrid. I still think they're gonna walk away with a top 4 spot and cruise into the quarterfinal. So I'm gonna stick with that pick that I made last week. But you just look at the talent, like on the first goal, you know. So I was mentioning Linda Caicedo. So she's working with Eva Navarro on the right, just trying to make some stuff happen. Navarro puts in a cross, gets knocked back out. And then check this out. It goes Maria Mendez to Yasmine, Naomi Feller, Sandy Toletti, Yasmine again, Toletti again, Yasmine again, and then Feller has that beautiful, just kind of like tiny, you know, the deftest of touches to kind of put Real Madrid up 1. And just like you could see the skill level, you know, the skill difference, I would say, between the two sides. And then if it wasn't apparent after that one, the second goal, it's Naomi Feller again, cooks Elisa de Almeida around the left-hand side where it's like a true 1v1 duel. It's like, all right, somebody's going to win this duel, somebody's not going to win this duel. And Feller won the duel. And I mean, that ends up becoming the second goal. It gets out to Weir. You know, Weir Earps gets a hands on it, hits the post, and then ricochets out. And who's there? Alba Redondo. So you just
Of
start
course she
to
is.
kind of look at these names, and you're just like, yeah, this team is really, really good. And I think when you look at Madrid, you don't look at a lot of 1v1 matchups against a lot of teams in this field and be like, they have a disadvantage at that spot. I think at every spot they're solid. They've got professionals. They don't have that that one 16, 17-year-old that's like, let's see if they can hold up in the midfield, or like, at left, like they have real pros at every spot. And this was a tough match because the first 25 minutes, like I said, Madrid was on their heels. But I mean, I walked away really more impressed from this W than last week's for sure.
Can we
Crack a
try
beer?
and make it? Yes, let's crack a beer first of all. Thank you, live producing on the program. I appreciate that.
No problem. See, what are we at? We're at the 6-minute mark. Takes us 6 minutes to crack a beer. It takes Esme Brooks in Barcelona 94 seconds to score a goal, but we'll talk about that one later. Cheers.
Yes, we cheers to you. Cheers to the football. We certainly will talk about that Esme Brooks goal. I'd also like to make a commitment. Let's do tiers. Let's make tiers in it. We have some time between now and November 11th. Let's do an episode in between match day 2 and match day 3 of the Champions League. Let's make the tiers, because I think I'm waffling on this. Like I remain down on Perry FC, and it wasn't even really, obviously they were going to get blasted. We knew they were going to get blasted by Chelsea. That's whatever. I liked that first half hour by PSG, and I liked the last 20, 25 minutes from PSG against Madrid. Yep. Now, obviously, you got to put together a full 90 to beat the elite teams. And with that said, I would probably put whatever tier I'm talking about. If I had Real and PSG on the same tier, I'd probably have Real at the top of the tier, and then PSG at the bottom of that same tier. But we can figure that out. I'm totally with you. I mean, the individual talent is great. Feller's touch on her goal was so now you have her and Redondo, who are just absolute professional goal scorers. I got a nose for it. Like I know the exact deftness that I have to use, and I'm going to be in the right position to score goals. And when you have a combination of that with somebody like Linda Caicedo, Pipa Engle, I thought played well in spots. She was just a bull in a china shop at some points. I think they should be all right. We should keep an eye out on that Merla From's injury, though. I'll be checking for updates on that, because I thought Misa Rodriguez filled in well. No offense to Misa Rodriguez. She's a young keeper. She's going to continue developing. She's not as good as Merla From's.
Yeah, and you could see it. I mean, I think we'll definitely keep an eye on that injury for sure. I continue to like what Real Madrid's able to do. I'm not going to count PSG out. So I'm with you there. When you look at who they've got, they got to go at Manchester United. They're going to host Bayern Munich. They're going to host Leuven. That's a tough one. And then they got to go at Benfica. So not impossible, but they definitely have some work to do. Uphill battle. They're currently sitting in 16th. No points, -5 goal differential. But let's scoot ahead a little bit. Let's talk about another. I mean, this was one of the matchups that I was really, really excited about. Got the full billing Thursday morning. Bayern München 2, Juventus 1. The German champs versus the Italian champs. Anything from this one catch your eye?
Well, I think, Bayern Munich has some professional goal scorers themselves. I mean, Pernille Harder's header was an absolute thing of beauty. I thought Bayern probably could have done better with some of the other chances that they had. I think Clara Bull may have taken a goal away from Tanakawa. I want to say it was second half. I might have it wrong. I should have put it in my show notes here. But there was a cross in that Bull heads, and Tanakawa was right behind her with in a better position with momentum. And it looked like it was going to be a certain goal. So I think, Bayern could have added a little, could have probably had the go-ahead goal sooner than when they got it, and probably a little, I guess, less in quotes controversially than when they got it. But yeah, I think we saw in this one, Juventus is good. I just think Bayern is better, and they just ran into a buzzsaw in match week one again, or match day one, pardon me, versus Barcelona.
Yeah, no, that's definitely for sure. And, I would say a good bounce back win for Bayern. They
Oh yeah,
the thing that you have to kind of keep in mind, like the thing that they have to keep in mind is like this is so much different than Frauen Bundesliga and the competition there and like the game scripts that they need to employ to kind of try to get a win. Because in this one, Bayern was trying to do like the very sharp clinical Bayern type offense, like these like crosses that were pinpoint, trying to like really make it happen. The pretty hard goal was beautiful. And then Clara Boo almost made another goal happen like minutes after the pretty hard goal. So they were really getting it going. And then in the second half, like over time, like that style just gets a little stiffer and stiffer as the defense kind of figures it out. We've talked about Clara Boo being like just the creator that, kind of like so much runs through. Julia Gwynn, I think,
yep.
as well. But there was a moment in the second half where Julia Gwynn puts in a cross to Clara Boule, like a perfect angle, great placement. Clara Boule's really close, gets a foot on it, but it's wide. She's not able to kind of tuck it in. And it almost felt like they were trying to like perfect the ball into the goal, And it's so
Yeah.
funny that the way that they end up winning ends up being like somewhat of a mad scramble, ball coming in again. Pernille Harder, she gets the assist, just get the ball into the mixer, and then you've got Leah Schuler, not the prettiest, not the prettiest goal, but I mean makes it happen. And
Yeah.
to me, kind of emblematic of what Bayern is going to need to do to stick around this tournament to advance. You're going to have to win ugly, and like Juventus isn't a monster club that is going to keep you up at night, but that's a professional club too, Champions of Italy, and they made it tough and they were there kind of like at every turn. But Bayern's going to have to employ a little bit more of that. Like, hey, let's get a little improvisation. Let's let Momoko Tanakawa maybe drive us upfield a little bit versus, all right, now let's do, all right, is it Bull or is it Gwyn or, like, what are we doing? Like, so I think, Georgia Stanway, I think had a really good shot from distance, rocks the post. They're just going to need more unpredictability than I think they've put forward in that first match. And then I think the first 2/3 of this one.
Yeah, and I mean, you hit the names. I think Alara can offer some of that. She has that in her game. Dahlman can give
She
you
looks
some of that as
awesome.
well. Yeah, I mean, Alara looks like she's a superstar in the making. I just quick fact check of myself. Yeah, 18 years old, Alara. I mean, come on now. That's frightening.
I even think they've missed like a Giovanna Damjanovic too. Just somebody that could do
Yeah.
some different, different angles, different. Oh, now like we've got to contend with this player for the last 15 minutes. That's going to come in different and like just, give us stuff that we're not used to seeing. But yeah, and on the Juventus side, I want to kind of hit them real quick because, even though they were outpossessed 75-25, outshot, they did manage more shots on target. And like they do play that like very, maximize the chances that we do get. And again, like I think they're a tough team. I was shocked. Actually, I want to kind of bring this back up. It was so funny because when we were talking about our top, 12, 16 last week, we couldn't somehow we went through it like 3 times and we couldn't figure out which 2 we didn't have. The big block for me was like you didn't have Juventus in your top 12. And I just think at the moment I couldn't wrap my head around it. I'm like, wait, who do you have? Who do you not have? Who do you have? And then when I played it back, I'm like, oh, he didn't put Juventus top 12. To me, I think they're firmly top 12.
Probably.
But I'm very curious to see if they change your mind at all, or what do you think, for about their prospects?
I mean, that free kick by Schatzer curling, off the
Yeah,
left foot away from the keeper. That was fantastic. I
beautiful.
thought I like every time I see Bonansea play, going back to the Euros, I'm like, man, she has good size, she has good speed, she has good skill. Like I like the way
So
she
smart
plays
too.
a lot. Yeah, exactly. They add Leah Volti, although I felt like Volti had a little bit of like a quiet match in this one. Um, yeah, I mean, I get how reliable are Vangsgaard and Kambiagi going to be kind of as your 2 tips of the spear, so to speak, like in your attack? Can you get enough goals from them against some of this great competition? I think is going to be the question. And they have Atleti next, then Lyon, then they play St. Polten, and then they finish with Manchester United. So I mean, they're going to be tested. Um, and there's really no iteration of the schedule. I know we've joked about this with Champions League, that we look at everybody's schedule as like, ooh, tough one. But it's like, oh yes, all of these clubs are literally either champions or came very close in their home leagues. So I think we're going to find out with Juve. I think you're probably right that they could be top 12. Or that they should be top 12. I think they might be more on the bubble um, than you think, though. But we'll see if I'm just low on them.
One of the announcers was talking about, was kind of theorizing how many points teams might need to advance. And I think he was saying, 12 points should be enough for top 4. And I think he said 6 points maybe might be enough for top 12. I think 6 could make some sense. 7 probably is like super duper safe. But both these teams, Bayern and Juve, both on 3 points. So
It's true.
I don't want to say you're halfway home, but you're kind of half. If you get 7 points, you're going to make the top 12. It's going to be really hard. I think there could be some 6 point. There could be a 5 point team that makes it. I think if you look at like how the math breaks out. So we'll track it. I think Juve is on a pretty good track, and I think they're a good team. And I think there's some Euro spillover from how well Italy played and how many players are on that roster. We've seen that. And I think we've seen on the field too. Like they're playing a little bit more confident. Not the same Juventus from last year. And even when you watch Roma play, they still feel like the Roma from a couple of years ago, like where they feel like a second or third tier league team, kind of like in the Champions League, where Juventus feels like, hey, we can at least compete with some of these big teams. We're not going to beat everybody, we're not going to drive everybody, but we're not going to get played off the field. And they didn't on this day either.
Yeah, I think that's totally fair. Yeah, 7. Yeah, I guess 7 makes sense. Like 6 or 7, because if you average like a point per match, that's interesting. I want to chew on that a little.
I made a note to myself to go check the men's one to see how that one stacked up, but I think there might be a little bit. I'm not sure if we could totally compare, but we'll track it. I think either way, if you've got 3 points, you're probably feeling pretty good at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, Twente is in 12th and they have 1 point. And so, everybody else, Bayern is sitting in 11th and they're on 3. So, they got to feel like they're in the right trajectory at this point.
Let's talk a little Twente. So, Twente had a tough one. They had to head to Belgium into the cauldron to take on the team that I try to tell everybody was going to finish top 12. OH Leuven. What a game. I mean, I think I also predicted that this would be one of the games of at least the Wednesday slate. For sure, check that box. This one was an absolute banger.
Dude, you said this had the potential to be match of the day. I think it was. I mean, Vålerenga Wolfsburg had an interesting ending, obviously, but like pound for pound, like throughout the full 90, this was the best match of Wednesday. I think you should pat yourself on the back. I think that counts as a correct prediction.
Yeah, I feel like I nailed it. And I just really have started to enjoy watching this team. Like they play tough, cool environment. A player like Sarah Pushtai, like, I mean, when she gets that winner, I mean, well, first off, like, Leuven's down and, Twente, they've got that professional, more experienced kind of vibe to them. They look bigger, they look stronger, they look, like more experienced, more poised. I think that's a word that we've used to describe them. And they obviously take the 1-0 lead on a great, very Naomi Feller like another tap that took incredible touch from Jamie Ravensburg in the 39th minute, the assist to Lika Tween. And, credit to Leuven, like they hung all the way in the match, like all the way through. Like there was no point where we're like, shoulder slump. And that happens all the time. Like even with good teams, you give up something stupid and you're like, but this team was like flying high, didn't miss a beat. And they just chipped away. They get the handball at the 82nd and then 90+5. Oh my goodness. Like watching Sarah Pushtai, I get it. It reminded me. So, for if you missed it, definitely go back and watch it. But she basically gets it and has decided when she's around the halfway line, I'm going to score a goal and we're going to win. Does the give and go and basically does the equivalent of like, I used to love when LeBron would do this, where he'd get the ball on the break and he'd dish to Wade and then immediately be like, just like, let's go. And then head down and just, his like little like LeBron, like a robotic run, and then take that loop. And you already knew it was going to be like Sports Center level flush. So Push Tie definitely exerted some of that energy, in this moment.
Dude, they're an exciting team, man. Like I've really enjoyed both of their matches. I I gotta say, like, credit to Twente who like you said, looked like the like professional, like, hey, we belong in the Champions League team. Um and Leuven just didn't blink. Like
Mm-hmm.
like I'm having a hard, like, I'm struggling because, like, when I really like Twente. I came away from this match like even more bullish on Twente. And as I was kind of like thinking about how we're going to talk about this on the show, I know how much you like Leuven. I think I like Twente more because they played well against Leuven, and Leuven's the damn debutantes. But that was, like you pointed it out too, that was a crazy environment. Their fans seem like they are super rad. Like, they were chanting, like that place was rocking. I'm not a huge fan of the song Sweet Caroline, but I do find it hilarious that when they score a goal, they sing Sweet Caroline. Like,
Oh my
I guess Neil Diamond reaches Belgium too at this point. Like, I don't know what's going on there, but look, man, I mean, let's just call a spade a spade. And I know Belgium has a level of diversity to it like any nation. White people love Neil Diamond, Sweet Caroline. I don't know why, but we like it.
Yep. That's what I've heard about y'all. I think Twente, they're gonna be kicking themselves for this result. 62% possession. They connect on 86% of their passes. They double up Leuven on shots from inside the box, twice as many touches. But credit to Leuven, according to FotMob, only 29% of Twente's touches were in the opposition half. So Leuven did a great job. Just, all right, you can keep the ball, you can knock it around, but we're going to keep you at bay. They definitely did that. The Ravensburg goal also took a lot of work. Like that one, the moment I'm going to remember from that goal was the Sophie Proust, when she gets the ball and does that weird stop pivot free, like pivot spin to get it to Tuin. I was just like, what the fuck was that? That looked like I always say when I love when players go like SEC wide receiver on me. I'm just like, oh, I didn't know you could move that quickly laterally up and down, up and back, and just kind of like leave a defender in their dust. But that was a very key play from Proust. But it took a lot of work for Twente to just get that single goal.
I think the announcer was pronouncing her name Prusht. I think Sophie Prusht. I think it. I'm gonna rock with that until somebody hopefully corrects us in the comments. But so I just wanna just throw this out there to the general public, because I think we mentioned her briefly after match day 1, and now here we are talking about Sophie Prusht again. Is anybody looking for Sophie Prusht stock? Because it's too late. I've bought all of it. I own the rest of it that was available. She was styling on Leuven in a lot of spots. Like, I love the confidence she plays with. She is 18 years old out there playing like that in the Champions League. She had 54 minutes, I want to say, somewhere right around there in last year's Champions League. So clearly, wasn't quite ready. She's ready now. Like, I loved a lot of parts of her game in this match. Now, she did pull up with what looked like a little bit of a hammy near the end of the match. So we'll see kind of, what happens there. It looked like she was moving around okay when they took her off as a sub. Hopefully it was more of a cramp than some kind of pull. But yeah, dude, she's a serious footballer.
Yeah, and a piece they didn't. I mean, to your point, they did have her last year, but didn't have that in their attack last year. This is fun and this is exciting, and we already saw it pay off here in this one. And goal differential still matters. So a team like Twente, they're sitting on 0 points, but they're just -2. So I think they're on 1 point because they drew, and they're on -1 then. Yeah, that's my bad. I always mix them up with Vålerenga. Moving on to not Vålerenga. We'll talk about that later. Lyon 3,
Sure.
St. Bolton 0. Lyon, maybe, I think, I went back and double checked it. I think a fully rotated starting 11. I mean, obviously, household names up and down the 11. But I want to say that Yona, talk about, styling and stunting on people, was like, oh, let's see what the second team's got, for St. Bolton. And then credit to him, I thought that was pretty savvy, just to be like, let's see who steps up, who shines, without the benefit of being surrounded by first team players in a Champions League environment. I thought that was pretty slick, and Lyon gets a big win. What are you going to take away from this one?
I'm going to take away that you helped me out pre-show, as you typically do, because yes, they did. I think they did rotate everybody. I think you're right about that. But I still kind of walked away with, couldn't they have been a little more efficient? I mean, the numbers were pretty weird at one point. At the end of the match, 46 shots, but only 15 of them on target. Whether that's around like 32%, which isn't like terrible, but I feel like if you're Lyon, you should be more ruthless with your attack when you just have even with your second team, you have St. Polten totally outgunned.
No doubt. And I think like, I don't have her first name, but Brunold on St. Polten, the attacker, had a couple good looks in the first half and was kind of kicking herself for not finishing one of them. That was like borderline gimme. I mean, it's tough. You're playing Lyon. It's a big spot. Wouldn't have made the difference anyway. I think Lyon still walks away with 3 points, but I think 15 out of 46, not terrible, but just 3 goals from 15 shots on target. If you're Lyon, you're probably looking at that and being like, all right, we got to do better than that. Now, granted,
I think so.
Those were versus one of the patron saints of the ITC, Karina Schluter, 12 big saves. I think any other keeper, it's a different story. But I thought Schluter was really good again in this one. Like a good keeper. I feel so bad for her because like she's usually St. Polten's best player, I'll say most standout player.
No doubt.
That just like you're just like, oh wow, that was really good. And it's not because she's getting a lot of opportunities. She makes plays, and she's super smart, and she makes good decisions in the snap of a face, like in a blink of an eye. She's just so quick. And I just really like her game. With that said, not the worst showing for St. Polten. They didn't come out and get washed. I think you mentioned like a 6-0 or 7-0 a couple of years ago in this same fixture.
Yep. Yeah, they lost 7-0 the second go round. They lost 7-0 at home to Lyon 2 years ago. So, to go to France in this one and lose 3-0. We're talking about this. These are some of the just realities of this tournament where you have a giant, the record holding winners of this tournament, Lyon versus St. Polten, a team from Austria. But yeah, I think we've talked about it too. In some of these matches, you're going to get these big numbers, and you can still kind of look at the goalkeeper performance and be like, yeah, played pretty well, actually. That's just kind of how it goes. And there was no stopping under any circumstances. I don't give a crap who your goalkeeper is. That Lily Johannes strike from damn near midfield. Surprise, surprise, surprise. Oh, what's this? Oh, she's shooting. Oh, too late. It's in the back of the net.
They don't call her the supernova for nothing. That looked
damn right
like a shooting star flying through the French night before it gets nuzzled into the net. I thought she also played really well. Very confident
for sure.
Had good chemistry with Hegerberg. Obviously involved. In some of the buildup early in the first half. Had a very slick back heel. I think was credited with 5 chances created according to FootMob. 7 shots, 4 on target. Love to see that, and obviously the supernova of a goal. It's going to be exciting to see how Lily grows into this match. I think for me, if I'm Yona and I'm looking at who do I remember standing out? Obviously Hegerberg, you already know what time it is. Vicky Beccio, obviously involved in that first goal. Lily Johannes, no doubter. I think Alice Sombat on defense was really good as well. And then you get the U LeBron goal, like, just cracking the seal on, now this is a Lyon player. And I loved that first goal just because it was like everybody filling the lane. It's like, all right, Vicky's out on the wing. We know this ball's getting whipped in. Let's all just run. Let's all just give her a target. And the ball ends up finding U LeBron's. And, they were off from there. So I think some good learnings. Lyon probably happy with some of that second team production. And they're sitting pretty, 6 points.
I think I feel comfortable saying this about you, LeBron. I thought she was the best player on the field. She was an absolute menace out there. She completed 87% of her passes. She had a goal and an assist. She won the most duels in the match with 10. Those stats are courtesy of FOTMob, but also I think courtesy of all of our eyeballs. I thought she was jumping off the screen. I was like, hey, yo, she's like dominating this match.
Yeah, no, she owes Lily at least a cappuccino because her assist was on that Lily goal.
Yeah,
didn't have to do a ton of work, but shout out to you, LeBron. Shout out to Lily. Good win for Lyon. Excited to see them come back and see, kind of like with the. I think if you're Yona, you do that because you want to shake some things up down the stretch, and I think you think, all right, my 11 now is not going to be the 11 down the stretch. So I think we're going to learn some stuff and see this team evolve. I'm super excited about that. Let's talk about the team that probably keeps Lyon up at night a little bit, and that's FC Barcelona. They get a big 4-0 win at Roma. What did you see in this one?
The juggernauts roll on. I mean, we talked about Esme Brooks scoring that goal within like 94 seconds or whatever it was, just right down the pitch, kind of doing what they want. How about Kika of Nazareth out-muscling the defender to get that header like right on the line to just kind of knock it over and get the second goal? The Roma defender is kind of looking up like, hold on, where's the foul? It's just like, nope. Everybody was just playing football on that play, and Kika ended up being stronger than you. And I think she does have a kind of like, I don't even know if I don't know if wiry is the right phrase for it, but she has like a deceptive strength to her game that I really like about Kika. So, I mean, we talked about Benfica players hitting the weight room. Obviously, Kika moves from Benfica over to Barcelona. I'm going to guess they have a pretty good weight room facility over there in Catalonia. So, I mean, what do you do? What do you do with Barcelona? You can hope that maybe Alexia Putellas will miss a penalty kick. Okay. And then she'll just make the next one. And then they'll continue to just kind of hold you hostage in your own defensive end of the field.
Yeah. Take a penny, leave a penny, miss a pen, make a pen. You know what time it is.
Right.
I thought Kika, you made me laugh because you were talking about Kika hit the weight room, because on Kika's goal, the second one, she gets an opportunity at the edge of the box and she's so wide open that if you rewatch the replay, she takes like a step and a half back as a wind up. She's just like, I got this. And then it's just like backing it up and it just hammers it into the net. And I was just like, oh, let's go. You didn't have anywhere near that kind of time at Benfica. So you got the time, you might as well take it. You talked about the Alexia penalty. And then they get, for the fourth one, a Carolina Graham-Hampton tap-in, just from, again, death by 1,000 cuts. They work the ball all the way upfield. And then the play ends with Pina, sliding a ball across, and imagine CGH just standing there alone, because as a defense, you're just like, okay, we can't afford one. There's not one more rotation in our bodies to get to Carolina Graham-Hansen to stop this. So I'm going to walk away this Barcelona performance. They scored every kind of way you can, and they did it without totally breaking a sweat, and held Roma totally in check. And, just a super professional win for a team that's probably maybe the overwhelming favorites. Can we say that?
I think so. I mean, what tournament are they walking into where they're not the favorites? And just real quick, let me just do the live correction myself. Yeah, I was conflating the first goals and the second goal, right? So Kika went up for the header on Brooks' goal, and Brooks taps it in.
Yeah, yeah. No, but she
Oh,
did.
okay,
She does
okay.
kind of clear out. No, that first goal, it was Kika and Salma in the mixer, and then I
That's right.
just laughed because I'm just like, imagine you have bodies like Kika's in their side, and you're just like, all right, we held them at bay, and then Brooks is just 5 feet behind, ready to just
Right.
uncork one, like take somebody's head off. It's just there's no defending it, unfortunately.
Yeah, for sure. And from the Roma perspective, um, you go into halftime and you're only down 1-0. So like they should be feeling good about themselves, right? Sort of. At that point in the first half, Barcelona had 37 touches in the opposition box. Roma
Wow.
had zero, a big
Oh
donut.
my god.
So even if you're only down 1-0, you can't feel great about that. You look at the second half numbers there. How much did it improve? Well, Barcelona only had 35 touches in the opposition box, two fewer, and Roma had two, two more than they had in the first half. So, look, I mean, we talked about it. Like, it's not like we're gonna bag on Roma for losing convincingly to Barcelona, but it just shows there's a clear separation there, and Roma has a ton of work to do, man. And I think they are in real, real trouble of not making that top 12. They're 0 wins, 0 draws, 2 losses, obviously -8 goal differential. They're second to last on the table. I think it's a real uphill climb here.
Yeah, no, it's going to be tough. I mean, you go at Real Madrid versus Barca. Those could be two top four teams. That's going to be tough. And I think Roma, in a lot of ways, like PSG, in a little bit of a transition year. We talked about all those players that have moved on: Elena Linari, Saki Kumagai, Moeka
Yep.
Minami, Giacinti. Like it's been a lot of movement. I'm forgetting a few players to, yeah, as well. So, and they've been replaced by some younger players. I'm thinking of Alaya Pilgrim from Switzerland, who's shown, in the Euros over the summer, Julia Dragoni, who I believe maybe is on loan from Barcelona, or I'm not sure if that's permanent or temporary, but she's a super young player. So I think Roma's kind of in flux, a lot like PSG, a lot of movement there. Um, watching PSG, you're just like, okay, I know Karshawi, I know Olga Carmona, I know De Almeida, and then it's a lot of young, exciting players, like, Ajibade, who scores, Rami Lukter, so I think there's a couple teams
Right.
that are at the wrong point in the cycle. I think Roma's probably one of those teams. So I agree with you, man. I don't expect them to clear the top 12 bar, unfortunately, as much as I'd like to see it. But let's talk about another, sort of WSL Liga F measuring stick match potentially. A team that you really like, Atletico Madrid, versus a team you don't like very much at all, Manchester United. What'd you see in
You
this one?
don't say. Yeah, don't care for Manchester United. I'll go on the record with that one. But man, like I've said about them before, they're kind of beating the respect out of me. I think that's kind
Mm-hmm.
of like how it happens. Um, that opening goal, Fridolina Rolfo just gets her foot all the way through it. It's a laser. I know it's point blank range. I thought Zigiotti hit a great pass to get it in there. Fernandez is like fighting with Toon to try to clear it. Toon does exactly what she needs to, like to your earlier point about like what Kika and Betuelo did on the Brooks goal. Toon is fighting for it with Fernandez, and then Rolfo just crushes it in the net. And then they just needed to like really hold on. And, Atletico, they're going to run. And I've talked a lot about them going up and down the wings. They have like good, creative, skillful passing in the middle of the park too. Like I really do just like, and I mean, it's no secret. I appreciate the Spanish way of playing football, but man, like they do it better than I expected. Even in the past like couple years of us paying attention to Liga F, I can feel them getting. I mean, correct me if I'm just like making this up, but like they are better at it this year than they have been in the past 2 years that we've been watching them.
I think the confidence has grown.
Mm.
I think they've got good players. They've got some connectivity, and they play really hard. I mean, I was really surprised in this one because the stats, like they really, leaned Atleti's way. Obviously they're at home, so you kind of expect that. And this is, I mean, it's unfortunately it's a growing pain type match, because you have players. Maybe Manchester United hasn't been there before, but you look at who they've got: Elatun, Miyazawa, Millar. Like, I know Just Park wasn't in this one, but
Letitia, yeah.
Letitia, and the one that I wanted to talk about most, Fridolin Rolfo, because this is a player I love. When like Fridolin Rolfo is like a 1A type player. Like, this is a player that her whole life has been the biggest, baddest player on almost every pitch that she's been on, right?
Yeah.
Goes to Barcelona, kind of nudged out of the starting lineup. Can she play left back or right back? What can we do? And it's like, okay, no, let's get Fridolin Rolfo back into a 1A type position where she gets touches and she rips shots. That wasn't her first shot of the game. She let one rip really early. I think cleared the bar by quite a bit, but that's what she needs to be doing. Like, she needs to be in there just smashing it, and that needs to be kind of like her role. And I love seeing her in like that 1A type, full green light type situation. And finally in this one, in a huge spot, it paid off. And like I said, those veterans know enough to be able to kind of like hold a lead, in a tricky environment like that against a team that's a little bit younger. You obviously talk about, the red card on Janssen early, that should have been a boon for Atleti, and they kind of fumbled the bag on that one. Alexia gets her own red card a little bit later in the match, and they give that advantage right back. And then at that point, it's like, well, you didn't equalize. You had half an hour, 35 minutes or so to do it. You're not going to do it when it goes 10v10, and you're a little bit more tired, and so I think they kind of let an opportunity slip, but I think it's growing pains. I think I'd still be really, really encouraged if I'm on that Atleti side.
Yeah, totally agree with that. Let's talk about it, because I'm sure a lot of people are already talking about it. Please, let us know in the comments what you think. Should that have been a straight red for Janssen?
What did you think?
I mean, we opened this segment with how much I do not care for Manchester United. So I wanted to tell you that I held two things at the same time. One, did I laugh? Oh, absolutely I did, because I did think Atleti was going to be able to capitalize on that. But I'll say, just in the interest of just like, I don't know if it's fairness or just like my football eye, when she goes to make the tackle, she traps Gio's left foot, she like traps her left ankle, and it looks extremely painful. And it's a bad tackle. I don't know if it was like malicious or violent, I think is typically the term that the referees will use when talking about that. So I thought a yellow card made sense. And I was a little surprised that it was a straight red. So I don't think I would have shown straight red, but I don't have any FIFA or UEFA referee classes under my belt or any qualifications like that. But to just be totally honest, as much as I was hoping it would be the downfall of Manchester United, it felt harsh to me.
Yeah, I think it felt a little harsh. I used the rubric I use is like, is it clear and obvious? Is it a clear and obvious error? Even though we're not, talk about instant replay in the NFL. And for me, I was like, maybe that was an error. Maybe they go back and review it and say, it should have been. But I think it was close enough that I think just kind of keep it moving at that point.
Sure.
We joked about the football gods. The football gods maybe, even the scales a little bit down the line, or maybe Alexia did that herself. But either way, I think United. You got to give them props, man. I think you've put it very succinctly in the last couple of weeks. They definitely beat the respect out of you, and this is a team that, if we're thinking tiers, I gotta feel like they're in that second, that 5 to 8 kind of range. I think they're loaded enough. They play a good brand of ball. I kind of had some fun poking some fun at Mark Skinner, but I got to give him props, man. I like the approach. Like, it's true. Like, I think what they're doing is working. You play through Letitia. You kind of lock down. You don't do anything. I thought another key stroke that was really cool in this one, moving Millar deeper into the midfield, because she's dynamic, she's fast, she's strong, she's creative. Get her the ball early. She could pass and she could run. And that really kind of opened, it just kind of opened up the field. We talked about the depressurization. I thought that was a great depressurization move, like getting Millar just more touches in the middle third, and then making Atleti contend with that. So quick shout out to Skinner. I think he's been doing a good job here through these first couple in this tournament.
I haven't done one of these in a while, so let's make this the Men Play Football 2 segment of this episode. I refer to this as the Ruud van Nistelrooy example, where I loved Ruud van Nistelrooy for the Netherlands, and he was a wonderful player to watch. And then when he went to Manchester United, I was like, I don't want to like this guy anymore, but I fucking love the way he played football. And Melvin Millard is of a similar vein, where I'm totally with you. Moving her to the midfield with how, with her style, her vision, like her shiftiness, like I really like watching her play. It's just a real problem while she's wearing that shirt. So I don't like that as much. But yeah, I'm totally with you. I thought that was a good move. 22-year-old Swedish defender Anna Sandberg, I thought she held up well after the red card. Jade Riviere, Canadian, played well. Letitia, you already know what time it is. They brought on Gabrielle George at halftime. Leah Galton came on around the hour mark, and she made a super important tackle, a really well-timed tackle near the end of the match on Gabby Garcia. So yeah, they stood tall. Those defenders stood tall. And speaking of standing tall, how about that American Fallon Tullis-Joyce, who's just all limbs, who's basically an arthropod back there, just snatching up everything. I mean, she made an amazing save in the first half. And then I think some of the other saves were less like dynamic, but she just eats up the ball in situations where she is like go gadget arms, and she'll just reach out and snatch one from you.
Yeah, that I think if you're talking about the same save, she kind of like jumped up and back and reached up and like just
that was fantastic.
I was just like, whoa, that was awesome.
That was great.
Yeah, she's definitely if you've seen the movie Arrival, like the the visitors.
Sure.
Yeah, got some PTJ energy. She was unbelievable as well. I think a player like that is really going to be able to keep you in some matches. But they're playing well. Shout out to them. Couple more matches to hit before we get out of here. Benfica 0, Arsenal 2, the holders. Now you said it. You said Arsenal's going to have to come out and at least win by 2 here. Now, that's what happened. And I still don't have that warm and fuzzy feeling that I was supposed to have, even though they got done what you said they needed to come out here and get done. Before I, spin wildly into, the depression and anxiety over my team and their, very slim prospect of repeating, what did you take away from this Benfica Arsenal matchup?
Don't worry, buddy. I'm here to comfort you.
I appreciate that.
They don't look nearly as good as they should.
Yeah.
I mean, so the only thing that I think, it's not the only thing. The first thing is that you have a lot of great players who have literally lifted the Champions League trophy before, and then met a few more who have also lifted 2 Euros trophies. That helps. But the second thing that I think I don't want to swing too wildly on is I think this team is building toward something as the matches progress. Is that they have to be looking at this, and like what we saw from Renee Slager's last tournament, I'm not going to get in the business of betting against her plan. And right. I have to imagine that there is some ramp up going to happen, and that they will figure things out as this tournament progresses, or specifically this league phase. So I will say, I don't think they played nearly as well as I would have liked to see them play. And obviously you as an Arsenal supporter, I didn't think they played as well as you would like to see them play. But I'll tell you one thing, that Chloe Kelly pass off the free kick, Boy, that was executed well. If you get bottle up some more of that every once in a while, I think that'll help.
Yeah, it turns out she's pretty skilled.
Yeah.
I was listening to Leanne's show on TalkSport. Go subscribe if you haven't done that already. It's a great show. But Leanne was saying that she thought that Caitlin Ford and Katie McCabe, this was before the matchup, were kind of like, not the lifeblood, but like, I wish I had the exact quote, but like sort of like the DNA of Arsenal. Like when Arsenal's playing like Arsenal, it's because Caitlin Ford and Katie McCabe are dictating how we're going to play like Arsenal today, which I thought was an unbelievable point.
Yeah.
Good, really good players. Not like the absolute upper echelon, but in terms of driving, the action, I totally agree. And I think without those two players, there was some rotation here. Beth Mead is obviously in the lineup, Olivia Smith, Kyra Cooney-Cross, Wubin Moy, Taylor Hines at left back. So, there's been some flux for sure. Not quite what we saw at Lyon, but it's enough to really make you feel like there's no formula here that's been figured out. And I think actually, if you think back to Champions League last year, some of these questions still kind of remained. It's like, well, Chloe Kelly, why is she not starting? She's so productive. Beth Mead, why is she, what happens to her? She's so good. And like Russo, Blackstenius, has that been sorted out? Obviously, Russo kind of like, gain some, some distance in that. But then Blackstenius obviously has a huge goal in the fight, so we almost went into this season with a lot of questions, even though last year ended on such a high note. And then you sign a big ass check for Olivia Smith to bring her over, more than it's cost you any other player on the roster. And, that's another thing to kind of contend with. I'm not saying it's like throwing a complete monkey wrench in it, but it's made it that much tougher to kind of sort out, right? Who's playing where? How are we playing? Who's dictating things? Like, where is the offense running through? We want Mariona involved. Who gets it to Mariona? What are the adjustment to there, the adjustment to the adjustment? And thankfully there's a lot of time to figure it out. I do expect obviously this team to, clear the top 12, but, they do have the potential to finish top 4. And I think, and based on how things are shaking out, there are a lot of scenarios where they don't finish top 4. And I think that would be kind of somewhat problematic for a team, from a confidence standpoint. You want to see them finish on the high note. And the last thing I'll mention, Matchday 6, there's a date at OH Leuven looming, buddy. And I don't want to be in that position. I'm already going to have to be Matchday 4 versus Real Madrid, and I'm not sure what I'm going to do in that month. This is stacking up to be a very, emotionally tumultuous tournament for your boy. So I appreciate you, offer to support me. It means a lot.
Of course, that's what I'm here to do. Obviously, Bayern, Madrid, Twente, Leuven. Again, this is going to be a running theme. Please feel free to make fun of us in the comments. We're like, man, you got to play a lot of good teams in the Champions League, but like, not much relief there. A little bit of a revenge game versus Bayern. After obviously they got their revenge last year and then some by lifting the trophy. But it'll be interesting to see, going back to Germany to play that match. Olivia Smith. You talk about kind of some flux in the lineup. There can't be any, and I know that you're talking about the additions. There's no flux there. Once you pay that fee, she's playing. So you got to play her as many times as possible and figure out how the fit's going to look. And I think honestly, the fit is going to probably be just fine. She's a good player. I like her attitude. I like she has some toughness out there to her game. I think she will fit well with Russo. I will say, as much as I would like to be a pain in your ass and be like, well, wasn't that convincing? Like, you had to go to Lisbon and beat a feisty Benfica team, and you didn't really let them up for a ton of air. Like, I thought Uchebe for Benfica was probably maybe put in their best performance. And when the person who puts in the best performance for your side is a center half, that usually means you're probably having a rough go of it throughout that match. So, Arsenal, they handled business. And, I think about it. Let's compare it to your Birds in the National Football League, the American football, where there's a lot of hand wringing going on about a team that has a winning record that is, the reigning champions. So maybe let's give them some time.
I'm with it, but I'm also on the record of like, it usually, let me not even say it. There's a long season. There's time to turn it around. But if I said that Chelsea as currently constituted couldn't win, I feel like Arsenal is no further than Chelsea, let's say, in that department. So there's going to be a lot. They're going to have to figure out a lot of adjustments to make. And I agree with you. Olivia Smith, big price tag. She's got to play, but there's a lot of good players, and there's you have to move.
True.
Unfortunately, you have to move a lot of stuff to make that work. I'm glad that's not my job. Shout out to the Champions League winning coach Renee Slagers, who I'm sure will figure this out before we're out of here. But with that said, one more match to hit. Let's kind of sprint through before we get out of here. Vålerenga 1, Wolfsburg 2. This was a fun matchup. Another one that ends. Well, this one it couldn't have ended any later. The last kick of the match ends up being the decider. A really fun one though. What any big takeaways from this one?
I feel bad for Hader Stotir, who gave away that goal to Wolfsburg. I mean, you could see like on the replay from like the behind the goal camera when she makes the pass, everybody's like, "Oh no!" It's like, and then the pass it's basically a through ball, or it's a ball to play in Lineth Bierenstein, and so you're pretty much finished at that point. But look, I mean, they got the equalizer right back. Like what? Yep. Like 180 seconds later, it felt like. So I like Vålerenga's spirit. Wolfsburg is another one of those teams where it's like, okay, how much are we calibrating as we go through these match days? But if you're Wolfsburg, you got to be feeling pretty great, sitting third on the table, +5 goal differential, 6 points to your name.
Yep.
And if you can feel like, hey, we're still kind of ramping up, and that's where we are in this league phase, I think you should be operating with quite a bit of confidence.
Yeah, no doubt. I think a lot to be confident about for sure. I had looked down. You mentioned that Heider's Dortier giveaway. I looked down for a second right before that happened, and when I heard the kick. Like I heard the thump of the kick, and then I heard the crowd like kind of audibly gasp, and then I immediately looked up, and I thought it was Justine Keelan that had kicked it to Bierenstein like perfectly. I was like, "Oh shit, nice one," And then the announcer was like, "Oh, what a terrible gaff or whatever," and I was like, "What? Wait, what?" And then I saw it was Heider's Dozier like put a perfect it was it's hard to hit a perfect ball, and then a perfect finish from Bierenstein. Bierenstein on the day, 13 for 13 passes. Obviously gets the goal, 28 touches, 8 in the Vålerenga box, 4 shots, 2 on target, putting pressure on Vålerenga all day long. I also liked Wolfsburg playing through Cora Zakai up the left-hand side, 20-year-old German. Played all 90 minutes, passing, super on point. 6 touches in the opposition box, was shooting, created some chances. If they're going to play through Zakai, I think that's a really, really nice counterweight because Bierenstein loves to run kind of like from that opposite end and, to kind of dart in and make trouble. And then lastly, quick shout out to Michaela Kovac, 28-year-old American, Michigan State Spartan. Shout out to my guys, Tom and Tony. You already know what time it is. 1 chance created, and then obviously gets the assist on that Herta goal. No relation to Kayvon. Wolfsburg, 20 shots to 5 for Vålerenga, so they kind of dominated possession. I don't want to say they deserve the win. They were certainly the better team, but that last call was so brutal. Tough to see them kind of losing that in that way, but I don't know. This tournament could kind of break your heart that way.
They certainly felt like they deserved the point. I just think if you're the ref and the people working VAR, you just have no choice. That's a handball. Like, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
they're both coming for the ball.
No
She
doubt.
has her
Yeah.
she has her arm up, and it moves the ball in what could be considered like a strategic move or a move to benefit the defender. So you got to call it a handball. And yeah, it is an absolutely soul crushing call, but it's a call that I think had to be made. Let me also just quick shout out to Wolfsburg's left back, Janu Levels, the
Mm-hmm.
Dutch international, 24 years old. I think she's put together like two pretty good performances already. And so I want everybody to mentally prepare yourselves for if she continues to play well, for Dino and I as two old men to just say at different points there's levels to this, because I mean there's just no way, like there's no way we
There
can
are.
resist that.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, a truism is a truism, right? You already know what time it is.
Sure.
The last quick note, you know, the handball gets called, right? And you're well past the allotted. We're in extra time at that point. And then I feel like Pop is still in the game, Bierenstein's still in the game, and then Yanina Minga steps up, and I know she's a good penalty taker, and I'm still caveman. I'm like, I don't know if I don't know. I feel like
Right.
I would make a switch there, but Minga fucking blasted that thing.
Yeah,
Like
that's why.
I mean, there was violence, emanating from my screen after that one, and I'm just like, okay, let me sit down, shut the fuck up. She's taking that penalty kick for a reason. So shout out to Yedina Minga. I'm sorry that I doubted you for a fraction of a microsecond, but maybe there's some comfort in knowing that I was proven terribly, terribly wrong after you blasted into the net, and gave Wolfsburg a big win that I think could catapult them. I mean, am I crazy to kind of think that like, the same way a bad loss can kind of like really derail you, take the air out of your balloon. I feel like a win like this could be like, hey, we lost to Bayern at home. That was a little bit of a deflator, but now we're back and we're on 6 points and we're kind of in control of our destiny a little bit. I think, the top four is not outside of the realm of possibility for a team like Wolfsburg with that much talent.
No, not at all. Now, I think the thing that's they're must watch. They're absolutely must watch for the rest of the tournament. They take on Lyon on November 11th. Everybody hold your breath for somebody to make some clumsy Veterans Day jokes about a French team and a German team. Could be me. You never know. November 19th, they're at home to play Manchester United. December 9th, they go to Real Madrid. And then on the 17th of December, they're home for Chelsea. So they got Lyon, United, Madrid, Chelsea, all of those appointment television.
All bangers for sure.
Yep.
And kind of like, I mean, outside of Lyon, that's going to be a tough game for Wolfsburg to win at Lyon. But all of those games are winnable, and all of them are also losable, which makes
No doubt.
like, I mean, to your point of appointment television, what a slate. I mean, but credit to Wolfsburg. You open with PSG and Vålerenga, and you walk away with 6 points. Now the slate gets a little trickier, and we'll see, kind of like what's left in the tank for them. But very excited about that. I want to hit a quick episode calendar, a very quick episode calendar. All I know is we've got U.S. Women's National Team news coming up. We'll be talking about it. A couple of friendlies coming up. We'll talk about those. Yeah, UEFA Women's Champions League. I want to do a tier show. I think after 2 match days, that seems like a lot of fun. And we've already got the natural top 4, second 4, third 4, last 6 out. And, we can update those rankings. Quick update. My top 12 from last week is the actual top 12. You know what time it is. We'll move on. We don't have to spend too much time lingering on that. So we'll have some Champions League shows coming up, and the NWSL playoffs right around the corner. We've got one more match week after this weekend, and then it's 3 weeks of a magical playoff run in the NWSL. Cannot wait for that. The final taking place in my hometown, well, or in the Bay Area, we'll say, down in San Jose. So I'll be in the building for that, hopefully. And hopefully you'll be joining us, and we'll have some, the festivities will be happening. So make sure you're subscribed. There'll be a lot of fun stuff for our NWSL fans out there. All right, man. I think we did it. Anything else you want to hit before we get out of here?
2 questions. One, is the NWSL final in Hialeah? 2, It should be.
I mean,
appeal to the NWSL.
cheap parking. What are we talking about here? Let's go.
Question number 2: is it a bit? Are we doing a thing that is this some kind of London derby rivalry? We didn't talk about Chelsea versus Perry FC. Did you do that on purpose? Did you do that on purpose?
Anything else you want to hit before we had to get out of here? Sure. Chelsea 4, Perry FC 0. And Chris Whittingham. How about our guy Chris? Cooking. He was cooking on that call. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm with you, man. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, sorry. Go ahead.
No. What you got?
No, he's a good announcer, man. I've heard him call Serie A matches for CBS. He's called some NWSL matches. He called the Bay Washington Spirit match that was in the baseball park down there.
Oh shit, yeah.
Yeah, that dude, he's a hell of an announcer.
I think my daughter was being born on that day. I was bummed to miss it. Yeah, I think it was on the Saturday. Yes. Yeah. But yeah, shout out to Chris. We love all the Dan Levitard, family. You already know what time it is. But my main takeaway from Chelsea, 26 shots. We talked about them not totally being able to finish. I'm not sure if 4 goals from 26, considering one of them was a penalty, is gonna, give them all the warm and fuzzies. The last quick note, I asked you, I think last week, what Chelsea would be able to do to kind of unlock that offense to be able to produce more. Turns out Alyssa Thompson might just be that piece to kind of unlock some stuff there. I thought she was really good considering she just got there, and I don't want to compare players, but Naomi Girma, also another player with a big price tag coming up from NWSL, has not been able to make that same level of impact. So you got to be, for Alyssa Thompson fans, you got to be really encouraged, to think about what's possible there at Chelsea, considering the early results.
Yeah, and I think I think Germa might still be dealing with the calf injury, I think.
Yeah.
So, but I totally hear you, and I'll say there was just a moment where Millie Bright played a through ball to Alyssa Thompson, and I just kind of chuckled. And I know it's like it's been settled for weeks, like the deal happened and she moved over to Chelsea, but I just kind of started laughing, like Millie Bright is passing the ball to Alyssa Thompson. That is like a weird. That was just a weird thing for my brain to compute in that moment. I was like, I did not expect. Like, if you would have told me a month ago that this would be happening, I'd be like, oh, damn, Millie moved to LA. That's cool. Good for her. Like, she'll enjoy the sunshine. So, yeah, I think I'm obviously no Chelsea supporter either, but, that roster is what it is. The looping header by JRK was fantastic. And they're just going to start doing this thing where they bring on Sam Kerr to help finish out these matches. And what do you know? Sam Kerr scores off a set piece. When they line up and the camera goes like inside the box on this corner kick, and they have Sam Kerr, Lucy Bronze, and Millie Bright all near the keeper around the 6-yard box, that is a fucking nightmare for the defense in any scenario.
Yeah, no, it's impossible. I had that same moment when Kira Walsh fed it to Alyssa. I was just like, oh, okay, this is kind of weird.
Yeah.
We'll see. Chelsea, I think a lot like Arsenal. Like, they're nowhere near where they need to be, but the talent's there. They've obviously got more talent than Arsenal. They're deeper, probably better top end talent. So maybe a better bet to make it happen. But I think both of those teams have a lot of work to do down the stretch to get to that point where they're contending, to be able to lift the trophy. So we'll see. We'll track it. A lot of good football, a lot of good distribution of football. So we're gonna have to fire up a lot of these streaming solutions to make sure we're catching all of it. And like I said, make sure you're subscribed. There's a lot of fun stuff happening. And before I get out of here, I want to give a quick shout out to some gear I picked up.
Look at
celebrating the 2024 NWSL champion Orlando Pride. Picked this up from our Linktree store. So was able to, click a little link from our Orlando Pride gear. I wanted to grab something to kind of commemorate that 24 championship season. the first year I covered, the NWSL in person from the press box, like a real, grown up journalist, which was very exciting. So yeah, was able to grab some gear, and we've got some jerseys in there, some USWNT gear for, some upcoming dates. So if you're in the market, pop over. We've got a great selection of stuff. It gets delivered by Fanatics, so don't worry, it's not Grant and I shoving jerseys in boxes and putting masking tape on it and running into the post office. Totally professional outfit, but we do get compensated for anyone that does pick something up. So we do appreciate it. Patreon.com/into-the-channel. If you want to support there, go check out our link tree to find us in all of our other various spots on the internet. We always appreciate it. All right, man. Anything else we want to hit for real before we get out of here?
I think that's it. Thank you to everybody who had very nice things to say about us returning. The day job's been busy. Dino's got a day job and a newborn, trying to keep up with all the football. We appreciate all the patience from you guys. And you guys, you guys are Alyssa Thompson. You guys are Kira Walsh. You're Chloe Kelly. You just deliver in the big moments every single time. We just appreciate you guys rock with us. It's always more fun to just learn and chat with you guys. So thank you for all of that. And I think we've done it, my good man.
I think so too, man. This has been another episode of Into the Channel. Thank you for watching, listening, hanging out. If you enjoyed the show or love football as much as your boys do, make sure to kick in with us each and every single week. Like, subscribe, follow, leave us a review. YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you like to watch or listen. Links to all of the above, much, much more in the description of this episode. Make sure you click those links. Support your boys. You already know what time it is. No interns, no writers, no crack research team. Everything that gets put together is either from myself or my boy, or potentially the Shadow EP on occasion. Shout out to the Shadow EP. But it's just us making it happen. So make sure you're liking and subscribing, and be nice to those other shows that aren't as good as our show. They're trying their best. We appreciate it. And a big thank you to my co-host as well, Mr. Grant Engle, for never being a co-host that I have to, question, their prep, their professionalism, their level of research. My guy brings it each and every single week, sometimes twice a week. I appreciate you, bro.
Likewise, buddy. I appreciate you saying that you never question my approach, where sometimes it is a little bit of a questionable approach, but you know what? We got each other's
I never
back.
question it though. I don't question it. It might be, that's, you're working some stuff out here. I don't, you already know I don't question your stuff.
You know what? Yeah, we're trying stuff. We're Jonah Heraldez. You know what I mean? Like we got to see what works here. But we know one thing works for sure. It's rocking with all of you guys. Thank you so much for checking out the show, and we will see you all next time.